As a young person, I'm curious about a lot of things, and I feel like learning makes it fun.
If you're a lawyer and the other person is a civil engineer, right? Actually, you're not so paiseh to ask, actually, what do civil engineers do?
I don't ask questions in class.
There seems to be this concern, right? That if I ask a question, will I look stupid?
This just sounds like adulting is tough.
So learnability is identified as something that's really important if we want young people to be able to thrive in future.
That's how I feel whenever I open my exam paper, by the way. If the ideal is to learn as much as you can, to be the best version of yourselves you can be, the challenge is then how lah. Welcome to the Halopod-cast, where we explore the transformative power of leadership through Halogen's attribute framework. We're your hosts, I'm Ella, this is Sean. And in this series, The Inner and Outer Leader, we'll dive into key leadership qualities like emotional intelligence, resilience, and effective communication, and how they can shape the leaders of tomorrow.
So whether you're an educator, a parent, a mentor, or someone who just works with the next generation, this podcast is here to equip you with practical insights and actionable tools to support young people as they navigate the world and become the leaders that they are meant to be.
In this episode, we'll focus on the attributes that deal with how we approach the act of learning. We'll discuss the importance of lifelong learning and how we seek to learn, unlearn, and relearn to stay productive, make wise decisions, and positively engage in our communities. If you're ready to learn, grow, and make an impact, let's dive in.
Let's dive in, right? So preparing for this episode, right? We were given we read this PISA 2022, or we glanced through it, right? Because it's a 295-page report, right? So it's a PISA 2022 report on results, learning strategies, and attitudes for life. And here are some two key insights that were surfaced, right? So most students do not ask questions when they do not understand what is being taught. Right, so that's one of the key insights. The second insight is about 2/3 of students reported being meticulous. That means 1/3 are not. 2/3 are meticulous and they check their work for mistakes. Right, so double checking for mistakes is a typical control or self-monitoring strategy used to evaluate how one is doing compared to the learning objectives that one has set for themselves.
I think I'm part of the 1/3. That's my first thought.
Part of the 1/3.
Yeah. I just finished my exams. I looked at my papers. Wow. Did I double check or was I even there doing the paper? It's crazy. I feel like, sometimes when I double check, maybe it's I'm too sure of myself. That's why when I look at my working, I'm like, don't need to check this portion lah. It's already there, But going back to the students not asking questions when they don't know, I feel like that's so relatable. I don't ask questions in class. Okay, sometimes I do, but only when I feel like they're hyper intelligent questions. Like I must think very, very hard before I ask the question. Like, is it something that my teacher already said? Will I sound like, I don't know, goofy if I suddenly say it in class, and will all my classmates go and stare at me and be like, why is she asking this? Am I doing too much,
Yeah, there seems to be this concern, right? That if I ask a question, will I look stupid? And take that to the other extreme. Some people use the opportunities to ask questions so that they sound intelligent, right? Like they ask an intelligent question that my teacher cannot answer, and then the teacher will say, "Let me get back to you next week," kind of thing. Yeah.
Like everybody in class are going to stare at that person and be like, smart Alec lah. But
wouldn't it be like this concern for how other people view us inhibit the learning process?
it does. It extremely does. Like you hit it right on the head. It's precisely because I feel like in class, right? Okay, sometimes I have a very weird perception towards learning. Like in class, in school, I have a perception towards my classmates. I have some people view me a certain way lah. So it's like, if I'm very good, like at, for example, math, like I can do everything in math, and then suddenly, right, I cannot do this question, and then the teacher says, do question part A. Everybody is doing it. Then I'm the only fella that cannot complete it. I will be scared to turn to my table mates to go and ask, because they assume that I'm really good at math, for example lah. Okay, I'm not, but let's assume I am, right?
And you want to maintain that impression.
Yeah, I guess it's like I don't know whether it's something that can be helped. It's just like a gut feeling that like, am I as good as I think I am in terms of like learning? And that like really inhibits my learning. Like imagine you're a basketball player and you've been playing basketball for 8 years, right? And then you come into a team with like people who've never played basketball before, and they absolutely like floor you, like they trash you. It's like so like lose face.
Play basketball before lah. They only say they never play before lah. Humble brag. Yeah.
Maybe they could humble brag, but if they're just naturally gifted, then they also just like, wow, my 8 years can throw out window lah.
Now I don't think your 8 years will be overtaken by a newbie just like that. Yeah.
In like learning environments, maybe they're not the most productive because when you're learning with other people, you feel the need to, okay, it's like the Asian stereotype of success, right? You must feel the need to succeed
There's a
for you to be
negative
good.
peer pressure
Yes.
to not ask questions.
Yeah.
And I look back at my time in school and I think that there were also elements of that. I don't know how much of it is negative peer pressure, but my time the teachers were a lot more didactic lah. They like, okay, yeah, so meaning like there is this amount of content they need to clear. You don't really ask questions during class, anything you ask after class kind of thing, because they need to go through like 100 PowerPoint slides and that kind of stuff. So in back in those time, the space for asking questions was not really made, and even teachers were always like, whether it's courtesy or not, they'll ask any question, nobody raise hands on lah. Yeah, because
I say, or like, y'all got no questions.
part of it is paiseh. The other part is like the students also feel the pressure to need to go through the 100 PowerPoint slides so that they don't miss any blanks in the notes, that kind of thing. Then they can go back and kind of self-study. So yeah.
I think like I'm a person who loves to self-study. I realized that like when I'm in school, right, I don't learn from like people telling me how it works. Maybe I need to like sit down, figure it out on my own. Like I always do better when I learn at home. So sometimes when I go into class, right, I feel like okay, maybe I don't get it now, but I'll get it later. So it's like that's why I don't ask questions also, like, honestly.
Yeah. And I thought a little bit about this insight, right? And I suspect, right, this is something that is unique to the school setting, right? People are afraid to ask questions because they are learning the same thing. They are learning from the same source. So presumably, if the teacher is good, everyone should get it. And if you don't get it, if you ask a question, means you don't look so intelligent lah. But I realize as you start to leave the school system, right, different people, your friends start to specialize in certain professions and jobs, then you naturally don't have a deep understanding of what your friend is doing, right? If you are a lawyer and the other person is a civil engineer, right, actually you're not so paiseh to ask, actually, what do civil engineers do? Because you are subject matter experts of different domains already, right? So you're no longer in a setting where you're supposed to know the same things. You already know different things, and so there's a comfort to admit, yeah, actually I don't know anything about civil engineering, so I'm not afraid to ask, right? And it's not stupid, right? Because if I'm a veterinarian, why do I need to know about civil engineering, right? So yeah, there's no embarrassment or shame to ask questions or be curious about outside your domain of expertise when you start leaving the school system. Yeah. Mhm. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have friends that are civil engineers, nor lawyers. they're all still in JC or
Supposed to know and learn the same thing.
learn
Yeah.
and learn the same thing. I guess I have the more common example I can think of is I'm a science stream student. So when I see an art student that takes like theater studies and drama, and I don't really get it, I don't feel paiseh to ask lah. Like China studies in economics, all the niche combis, like I find them cool, and like I feel more, I don't know why, I feel more curious to learn about their subjects than my own. Cause like they're more niche, they're more like special in that case. And then I look at my physics, my chem, my math, my econs, it's like everybody is supposed to know because it's the most common combination taken lah. Yeah.
And because you ask your friends who are studying other things that different from you, right? You are asking from a place of general interest.
Yeah.
Right? Versus I need to know this at a very deep level for my exam or whatnot. So I think that makes things different, right? So I think there is a certain discomfort, right, to wanting to drill deep into a particular subject matter for the purpose of a test or a task that you need to accomplish lah. There's generally more inertia because that learning or the amount of knowledge and expertise you need to acquire can sometimes be overwhelming. And it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to know it at such a deep level, but for general interest sake, I don't mind knowing it. Yeah. Now, why are we talking about learnability today?
I think it's really important. The government and just in general in life, everybody should lifelong learning. I learned it in 3 different languages. But for the sake of my messed up pronunciation of both of those languages, lifelong learning is very important in English as well. But like basically when I was learning, like I had to do Chinese oral, right, like last year, and then they just kept like talking about lifelong learning and why it's important to like continue to have a thirst for knowledge and like just explore lah. And I get it honestly because as a young person, like I'm curious about a lot of things and I feel like learning makes it fun. Okay, maybe I'm not like the most academically inclined to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I love what I'm currently studying. But it's because I have passions outside of what I'm studying that keep my thirst for learning and like that learnability like on point lah. Do you still have like learnability at your age?
I think it is a necessity, right? Yeah. So there are real practical implications on why in your older age, right? You have to keep learning because it has direct implications on your employability, right? Being your ability to earn a good salary, to be able to provide for your family, cover your liabilities, right? And so if you don't learn, you don't adapt, right? You don't get better quality jobs, or worse, right? Your job becomes obsolete because of technological advancements, or people just don't need that particular skill set anymore, lah, right? Then it becomes obsolete. Then you're out of a job. So lifelong learning and learnability has a real impact on employability, right? And we at Halogen we identified it as one of the key domains in the inner circle, right? That if we don't learn, we don't adapt, we don't make ourselves useful or valuable to society, to economy, to industry, then you're out of a job, right? And when you're out of a job, you slip into poverty, and then there's a whole lot of other issues that comes with that, right? So learnability is identified as something that's really important if we want young people to be able to thrive in future.
This just sounds like adulting is tough. I can't wait. You know.
But sometimes it's not even adulting, right? So here's a real personal story, right? Now there is a particular skill set that I have that I am extremely proud of, right? It is the ability to drive a manual transmission car. Now, if you don't know what that is, it is a car
I haven't taken my
that has
license.
a manual gear shift and 3 pedals. You need a clutch, right? And and I take great pride, right, in being one of the rare people around that have the ability to drive a manual transmission, right? And okay, for me, it's not just a skill, lah. For me, it's a fun thing to do. And I realize that this very skill that I take pride in is actually a very useless skill in today's day and in yeah, in this day and age where cars don't have a manual transmission, right? So I can keep being proud of it, but there is actually no utility value to that skill that I hold, right? Unless, short of me being like time traveled back 50 years ago, and yeah, I can drive a car from 50 years ago, like, if that ever happens. Yeah.
Hmm. In that case, I guess I kind of get what you mean. Like sometimes you have very like niche interests, or sometimes like learnability also like what you learn also affects like your esteem. Like you think you're very smart, like you learn a lot of funny things. Like maybe somebody knows like 200 names of Pokemons, and then it's not particularly useful school also, but you know what? It's to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, but sometimes these can be impediments to learning, right? Like we take pride in something that we are good at, even though it is no longer useful, right? And it can sometimes hold us back from wanting to learn new tools, new skills, new technology, because we take so much pride in what we were once able to do in the past. Yeah.
I think it like goes back to what we were talking about relearning,
Yeah.
relearning and unlearning some certain skills, right? Um, I don't think I particularly know a lot of skills, but you know what, sometimes it's like so hard to relearn, to unlearn stuff. Can you imagine like you think like you're top dog and you're like super good at something, and then your ego just comes crashing down when you meet somebody of higher caliber, or when your knowledge is being tested and you realize you actually know nothing. That's how I feel whenever I open my exam paper, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. But I think at your age, your knowledge, you're still in a stage of knowledge acquisition, right? Whereas, as you grow older, you would have amassed a lot of knowledge. So someone like me, right, in my 40s, right? I would have amassed some knowledge from 20 years ago, right? And some of that knowledge from 20 years ago might have become, one is it becomes obsolete, right? Or on the other extreme, what was good knowledge in the past now turns out to be bad knowledge, right? Like it's no longer.
Where I don't really get that. Like,
Mm.
got example?
Yeah. So example, right? This has to do with food and nutrition. 20 over years ago, it was determined that egg yolks are bad. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the knowledge, and that was the sound advice, because it gives like bad cholesterol and whatnot, right? And in recent times, new research, new evidence has found that actually it's not unhealthy. Like, feel free to eat as
People
much
use
egg
it to
yolks.
hit their protein goals, yeah.
Egg yolks. No, egg yolk don't really have proteins lah.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah,
just see my
yeah,
friends eating a lot of eggs.
yeah. Uh, but you see, that's just an example of old knowledge is that has been made, how to say, is no longer relevant. It's found to be not true with new evidence surfacing. And I think that's why we need to relearn, right? Some of these things. We need to relearn that. And of course, in this context of food and nutrition, it's not a super critical thing lah. Like, okay, I can, whether or not I continue eating egg yolks is actually not very consequential to my life, but I think there are certain domains that if you don't learn or relearn or unlearn, it can be quite detrimental to your own progress.
I don't disagree with that. Like, in general, there's always so much to learn, so much to improve on. Maybe we learn wrong things also. But I think for like young people, it's hard though. Like, it sounds so easy in theory to be like, I learned something wrong, or like I need to relearn something, I need to catch up on something, then I do it again. But then in actual fact, right, having the humility and having the patience to just go through with the learning process again, put your ego aside, it's just so tough lah. Like, that's the ideal, but
Yeah.
in actual fact, like that law, like
Wow. So I think that's why people are driven to lifelong learning. They are driven to a point, right, where, okay, I need to put my ego aside because I have real employability issues, I have bread and butter issues, I need to put food on the table, I need to learn a new skill. And with technological advancements, of course, we know the buzzword now is AI, and AI can do a lot of things. There is really a push to help the workforce, to help older workers learn new methods of working that incorporate artificial intelligence so that they can be more productive and not made obsolete in the workforce. Yeah.
I think that's more like on an adulting side. Like, how would you recommend, I guess, youth to have this humility or this thirst for knowledge, not to walk around thinking like they know already and they don't need to try again? Because I feel like, okay, you'll be hit with the hard task and you'll be hit with the hard challenge when you, for example, have employability issues in the future. I guess how can we like change that for youth, or how can we impart that thirst for knowledge in them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question, right? How do we make people genuinely curious? I believe curiosity is what drives self learning, right? How do we raise people to be genuinely curious about how the world works, yeah, how people interact, what uh yeah, just general curiosity. And I haven't found the the magic solution to this question, right? How do we make people genuinely curious? I think, yeah, if anybody finds that magic solution to like ignite curiosity, right, then you have what we call what do you have self-driven learning, and I think that's really powerful, right? That you're driven to learn by your own curiosity rather than because my teacher say so lah, because I need to get a job. Not that these are not powerful external motivators. Some teachers are more powerful than others, right? Yeah, but the intrinsic motivation to learn, I think that is what is most sustainable in the long run, because your teacher cannot be hounding down your neck forever,
Yes.
right?
Imagine you're an adult and your
Yeah,
teacher is
your
like,
supervisor at
yeah,
work also cannot be hounding on you forever. Yeah. What are things that you might be really curious about?
things I'm really curious about. Wow, that one's super tough Like, my interest change like every day. Maybe it's because like I'm extremely indecisive, or maybe it's just because like I I have a curiosity, but for like what you said, like low key useless things.
Like brain rot.
Okay, no, I don't believe in brain rot. That's like, oh, shiver. Okay, anyways, but like I guess like what I'm curious about right now, like my humongous interest is like art. I'm super super curious about art. Like I love listening to music, like many youth do. Like people my age love music, right? I love physical art, meaning behind art, because I guess it's like not only an expression, but I love history because art depicts history, and it's crazy about like, imagine you look at something and you can tell what the people of that time were thinking about, or what were their priorities. Yeah, and that's why I love art so much, because you can learn new techniques, but at the end of the day, it's how you feel that comes out.
How does that knowledge, yeah, what is the relevance of that art knowledge in how you might operate in your life today or maybe in the future? Do you see any connections and all that?
I think the way that I see art, the way that I see life now is kind of a reflection of how I view art. Like, okay, oh, somebody wrote raging over there. Like, for example, like music, right? I listen to music based on my mood, but my music can also affect my mood, like type of thing. So it's like, um, people watching out there, if you know Daniel Caesar, amazing mood music, right? Oh, but I love listening to oldies. So fun fact, I listen to the Beatles and Sinatra, those type. Like I love old jazz also. So it's like,
That's really old.
yeah, that's when you exactly, but it's really good. So like for example, like when I listen to like My Way by Frank Sinatra, I like imagine myself on a cliff top. Then I'm like me and my superhero cape, and I'm like, I can do this. I got belief in myself, because it's like, I don't know, it's like his words move me or empower me to like, it's like aura farming music. We were just discussing aura in the past episode. Go and watch it. But like for example, like aura farming with epic music, like it makes me feel like so much more confident, esteemed. You have like music to hype you up to do things. And it's a very like minor thing, honestly.
Yeah.
That something you like can shape how you view the world. Like, some people love, like, for example, like Taylor Swift because her lyrics just like resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah lah.
Yeah. So if I take your example of how music can influence a person's mood, there's actually real practical applications to it, right? And if you have ever stepped into a posh hotel, right?
Posh hotel.
Hotel
Okay.
with a lounge, right?
Okay. Where are we going with this?
There is a certain kind of music that plays,
Correct. Lobby music.
lobby music.
Yes.
And it's not just music. There's lighting,
Yeah.
right?
Ambiance.
And there's also smell,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
All of these curate a perceived customer experience,
Correct. Okay. I get it.
yeah,
I get. I
right?
get.
So actually, if you really dig deep into your area of interest and try to find practical applications to it, right, you'll be able to. So actually companies pay a lot of money, right, to curate lighting, sound, smell.
Companies.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
like,
so
okay.
fun fact, right? If you step into Ion Orchard, for
Okay.
example, there is a particular smell that is curated.
Oh my god, I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
But I'll go and smell
Yeah.
Ion Orchard later.
Yeah.
I know they sell the
I mean,
Ion
don't go
Orchard
to the
smell
don't
on.
go to the food court level.
Of course
Okay, yeah,
lah,
good.
like go to the upper levels, is
Yeah.
it? You know they sell the perfume samples of like different places in Singapore on TikTok shop. I saw that. It's
Yeah.
like crazy,
Yeah.
okay? So like it's a sensory thing then.
It's a sensory thing, yes. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to get at is you can have an interest in a certain area, you be curious about it, right? But for it to be useful, it needs to have some kind of an application in the real world, right? Uh, Sometimes people don't push their learning to that extent. Then they don't make themselves useful. They don't help create value. Um,
How do young people do that though? Like, you know, something that I think is like particularly useful right now is like, for example, AI and like cyber knowledge. But it's just not my cup of tea. I just don't vibe with it. Like, you know, my parents try to get me into coding. Not like coding, but you know, my dad harps a lot about like AI and the importance of like technology. My cousins take computer science, and it's like it's legit not my cup of tea. I try, you know, when at schools they do the mini coding programs, I suffer. I really do. And it's like it's so hard for you to translate that like in actuality lah.
yeah. So ChatGPT has been around since 2022 or so 2023, and I only very recently got to tinker and fiddle around with the AI space. Yeah, so I mean, I in the past it was just a very nominal user lah. Like if there's something that Google cannot help me answer, then you go and find answers in ChatGPT, right? That was as far as I understood what AI could do. I was only very recently that I dug a little bit deeper into like AI as agents that can organize, for example, my calendar, help me send emails, or help me crawl web pages to find business contacts and all that. So it was only very recently, and then I experimented also, because one of the things I'm very curious about, because there's a lot of talk about AI replacing jobs, right? So one of the things, and this is my self curiosity, is can AI replace my job? Right. So I do youth development, I do coaching, I do leadership training. Uh, so 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 I actually asked if I didn't ask if ChatGPT can replace my job, right, as a coach. I asked ChatGPT to be my coach. So I basically, so this is a real recent encounter. I had a difficult email exchange with a difficult customer, right? So basically, the customer wants something, but we cannot give it, and then there's a lot of back and forth. Like, hey, your warranty says this, but why cannot? All right. So there was a lot of back and forth, and after that entire long email, like after a few, like 6 or 7 replies, right, the issue was resolved, right? But I was genuinely curious, could this have been done better? I uploaded the entire email thread to the AI, right, and asked the AI, okay, give a commentary on how this customer resolution was handled. And I was genuinely impressed by its analysis of where I've done well and where I could do better in customer service, right? And that was when I realized, actually, even life coaches or career coaches, AI can replace you.
Xiao liao. I don't know what to say to that. I thought what you were gonna say is that you asked ChatGPT to like tutor you, and I was like, wait a minute, you're not youth, so it's like a bit funny. Then in that case,
Yeah.
like how do you like, I don't know, aren't you anxious or something? Like you're like
Correct. So there is that certain, uh when that realization came, right, then I realized, yeah, it's for good reason that the government is giving such a push towards AI, right? Because AI is really powerful, right? And as more people know how to use it, those who don't know how to use it are going to be left behind, right? So as more people know how to use AI to act as their workplace coach, for example, and if I don't know how to use it, I'm going to be left behind, in this line of coaching and development, right? Of course, we are not there yet, lah. Like, would you ask AI to coach you how to write an email? I don't know.
what email am I supposed to write, man? Like can coach me, teach me every concept. Then I just upload the full file, is it? Maybe. Currently like in my school at least, we're using not really using, but they're trying to test out, like, for example, like AI marking your things. So like, for example, they upload like suggested solution or something. Then you give your answer, then SLS will go and like say, oh, this portion of your answer could do better. Okay, I'm gonna say that in like a AI accent, but whichever, like, and then they'll kind of show you where you went wrong. Sometimes it works, sometimes a bit flawed, but it will work itself out. I think it will advance to a point where it can give very, very helpful and very, very detailed feedback. Yeah.
But yeah, AI marking homework and exam scripts takes a huge chunk of the workload of the teachers.
Yeah, but I cannot bargain with AI for my marks lah. So
Well, but the point here is then teachers need to find something else to do if like their 8 to 10 hours of marking is taken away from them. Right? Then they need to learn new things as well. Right? If AI is going to take away the marking aspect, they have to value add in some other way, right? And that's where the necessity to learn, it is just so important lah, to keep learning.
yeah, but learning is so challenging, or sometimes it's like extremely demoralizing, because it's like sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. Sometimes you need to look at it like 3-4 times. I wish you could just like put something on put a book on the top of your head and osmosis into your brain, but it doesn't work that way lah. So I guess like,
Try lying down and then putting it on top. Sometimes gravity helps.
wow. Oh my god. Okay. Then in that case, like, I don't know. It's something that has no answer to it, but it's just something that's very real, which is how can people continue to have the resilience to learn lor.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I guess learning puts you in a place where you have to acknowledge that I don't know enough about an area, right? And you need to know enough. And yeah lah, I think resilience is one part, right? Because sometimes when you learn a new concept, so like me trying to learn AI, it's been tough, right?
Okay.
But also because I choose to learn not the end user part lah. I'm trying to do AI development kind of stuff, right? So that one is genuinely a bit tougher, right? And when things get tough and time consuming, uh and you think, hey, I can be doing so many other things with this time, it's the temptation to throw in the towel and say, maybe I shouldn't learn this. It's yeah. How do you overcome that? Watch our episode on growth mindset.
That's like so far back. What if they already watched it? Okay, then rewatch it again, or
Rewatch the episode on growth mindset. Yeah. Yeah, I would say AI is the disruptor of our generation. Same generation.
wow, so generous.
Every previous generation has had their own version of disruptors that they have needed to deal with. So example, there was the industrial revolution, right? With machines coming on board, replacing a lot of manual labor. So if I just take agriculture, for example, uh, a paddy field used to need like 20 to 30 workers, but now two machines replace 30 workers, right? And the real value becomes knowing how to operate the machine. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, we were just talking about like, I guess like now, because AI and just in general machines and everything, they're freeing up so much time for us to do more productive things. I guess like, how do you? It's just learning is the way of staying ahead of the curve lah.
Yeah, for sure, right? We need to just constantly learn so that we can keep finding new ways of being a valuable member of society, right? Someone that can continue to add value in relevant ways lah. And this example is AI, right? Taking away our jobs, but I think in many aspects, right? The moment we stop learning, we cannot tell the world around us to stop changing, right? Change is a constant. It will keep happening, right? And if the world change and we don't change to be relevant along with it, we become obsolete lah. And I think that is the crux of why lifelong learning really matters. Yeah.
I think it's so important to keep that in view, but also find some way to keep your curiosity and keep your humility in learning. Because if the ideal is to learn as much as you can, to be the best version of yourselves you can be, the challenge is then how and how to keep yourself motivated to do it. So I guess in like my own personal growth type setting, I think I really want to work on being humble and just admitting that I don't know. And I know what I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I don't know. And that's okay lah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And having a view towards wanting to solve problems, right? Like, hey, we uh
One eternity later.
sorry, brain freeze. Yeah, yeah. Having a problem solving approach to life, right? Like, you're gonna work 8 hours of your life every day, Monday to Friday. What problem would you want that 40 hours a week to contribute towards? What problem in this world would you like it to solve? Right? And as you start digging deeper and learning about some of these problems, you will also start to realize there isn't any good tool currently to solve some of these big problems. Right? And if we were to formulate new tools to try to tackle some of these difficult, complex problems, we will need to learn new strategies, new approaches, new technologies, and we just need to keep learning lah as problems evolve. And yeah, if you want to be a useful member of society and not become obsolete, I think there is really no running away from this notion of lifelong learning. Mm. Yeah. Do you learn something about this podcast? Do you learn something in this episode?
I learned that I have to learn. Like learnability is important, not just because of extrinsic motivations, but I feel like in general, you live your life with so many like hats, so many facets, so many faces, and you learn new things about yourself that learnability sometimes come naturally, sometimes it doesn't. And it will work out lah, honestly. Like if you put it upon yourself that you want to learn a new skill, you want to take that stride forward to go and, for example, learn AI in your case, learn AI development in your case, then try your best lah.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope to all our listeners out here, right, you have learned something new today, right? At Halogen, we constantly research and try to find new evidence, new practices, and, helping young people grow as new evidence and new information comes up really is a lifelong learning endeavor on our part as well, right? So we hope this episode has helped you. I hope this episode has helped you learn something and inspired you, right, to also want to continue learning in your respective domains and not just when it comes to dealing with young people. So if you learned something from today's episode, share this with a friend, colleague, or a fellow leader.
You can also subscribe so you won't miss our future episodes. There's a lot more to come, and we'll dive deeper into how we can manage our thoughts, emotions, and actions, which is super important lah.
So till then, let's keep leading inside and out.